Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the dark space ahead. His silver scales caught the light from the control panels as he watched the scanner readings. For 3 days, his research vessel Voidwalker had been moving through the dead zone known as the Terran Graveyard. This was where the human homeworld used to be, before their sun exploded 20,000 years ago. "Captain," called his science officer Buzzak from across the bridge. The insect-like alien's compound eyes were focused on his instruments. "I am getting strange readings from Sector 7. Veltar moved to look at the scanner display. His forearms worked quickly on the controls as he tried to understand what he was seeing. The readings showed something large moving in the empty space where nothing should exist. "What kind of readings?" Veltar asked. Buzzak's mandibles clicked together, a sign he was confused. "The signature does not match anything in our database. It is too big to be space debris, but it is moving too slowly to be a ship." Veltar thought about this. The Terran Graveyard was supposed to be empty. When the human sun died, it had destroyed everything in the system. No life had existed here for 20,000 years. All the galactic powers agreed that humans had been a simple species. They never developed space travel beyond their own system before they died out. "Set course for the signal," Veltar ordered, "but keep our weapons ready. We do not know what we might find." The Voidwalker changed direction and moved toward the strange signal. As they got closer, the readings became stronger. Buzzak worked at his station, trying to understand what they were approaching. "Captain, the object is much larger than I first thought," Buzzak reported. "It is at least 2 kilometers long." Veltar's eyes went wide. Nothing the humans had ever built was that large. According to galactic records, humans barely had ships that could travel between planets in their own system. "Are you certain of these readings?" Veltar asked. "Yes, Captain. And there is something else. The object appears to be artificial. It has a regular shape, not like natural space debris." As they moved closer, their main viewing screen showed them what they were approaching. Veltar felt his breath catch in his throat. Floating in the darkness was a massive ship unlike anything he had ever seen. Its hull was smooth and dark, with strange angles that seemed to bend the light around them. Along its sides were markings in a script he did not recognize. "By the ancient stars," whispered Buzzak. "It is beautiful and terrifying at the same time." The ship was clearly very old. Parts of its hull showed damage from countless years in space. But it was still intact, still holding together after all this time. Veltar had seen many ships from many different species, but this was different. It looked dangerous even while floating dead in space. "Run a full scan," Veltar ordered. "I want to know everything about this vessel." Buzzak worked for several minutes, his instruments probing the mysterious ship. "Captain, the hull material is unknown to our databases. The design is unlike anything built by any current galactic species. But the strangest thing is this. I'm detecting very faint power readings from inside the ship." "Power readings?" Veltar could not believe what he was hearing. "After 20,000 years? The readings are very weak, but they are there. Something inside that ship is still working." Veltar looked at the massive vessel on his screen. If this was a human ship, it changed everything they thought they knew about that extinct species. Humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to have died out when their sun exploded because they could not escape their system. "Captain," Buzzak said, his voice excited, "I am detecting what appears to be a docking port on the side of the vessel. It seems to be designed for ships like ours." This was even more strange. How could ancient humans have known how to build docking ports that would work with modern galactic ships? "Prepare a boarding team," Veltar decided. "We need to investigate this vessel, but everyone wears full protection suits. We do not know what dangers might be inside." As his crew prepared for the boarding mission, Veltar could not stop staring at the ancient human ship. The markings on its hull seemed to tell a story, but he could not read them. The ship's design was clearly advanced, far more advanced than anything humans were supposed to have built. The Voidwalker moved carefully toward the docking port. As they got closer, something incredible happened. Lights began to turn on along the hull of the ancient ship. Systems that had been sleeping for 20,000 years were waking up. "Captain," Buzzak called out. "The ship is responding to our approach. It is powering up its docking systems." Veltar watched in amazement as the ancient vessel came to life around them. The docking port opened with smooth precision. Inside, he could see a clean, well-maintained docking bay with lights turning on to guide them in. "How is this possible?" one of his crew members whispered. Veltar did not have an answer. Everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. This ship proved that 20,000 years ago, humans had technology that might have been better than what the galactic powers had today. As the Voidwalker settled into the docking bay of the ancient vessel, Veltar felt both excitement and fear. They were about to step inside a ship from a dead civilization, a ship that had been floating in space since before any of their own species had developed space travel. The airlock sealed behind them with a soft hiss. The ancient ship's systems provided them with breathable atmosphere. Lights came on in corridors that had been dark for 20,000 years. "Stay together," Veltar ordered his boarding team. "We do not know what we will find inside." But as they took their first steps into the human vessel, Veltar had a feeling that whatever they found would change the galaxy forever. This was no primitive ship from a dead species. This was something far more important and far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The ancient human ship was waking up, and with it, secrets that had been buried for 20,000 years were about to be revealed. Veltar led his team through the corridors of the ancient human ship. The walls were covered with panels that glowed softly as they passed. Strange symbols appeared on screens along the way, but none of the aliens could understand what they meant. "The air is safe to breathe," reported his medical officer, a tall blue-skinned alien named Kesara, "but I am reading traces of gases I do not recognize." As they walked deeper into the ship, more systems came online. Lights turned on ahead of them, as if the ship knew where they were going. Soft sounds came from the walls, the hum of machines that had been sleeping for 20,000 years. Buzak held a scanner in front of him, taking readings as they explored. "Captain, the technology in these walls is incredible. The materials are stronger than anything we use in our best ships. And the power source, I cannot figure out how it works." They came to a large door marked with human symbols. As they approached, the door opened by itself. Inside was a room filled with control panels and screens. Some of the screens were already showing information, but it was all in human languages that none of them could read. "This appears to be the main control room," Veltar observed. The room was designed for humans with chairs and controls sized for their smaller bodies. But everything looked far more advanced than what they expected from an extinct species. Suddenly, one of the large screens flickered and came to life. A voice spoke from hidden speakers, speaking in an alien language none of them recognized at first. Then the voice changed and began speaking in Zephyrian, Veltar's own language. "Welcome aboard the UES Horizon's Edge," the voice said. "I am Adam, the ship's artificial intelligence. You are not human. May I ask who you are and how you found this vessel?" The boarding team looked at each other in shock. An artificial intelligence, and one that could learn their language just by listening to them speak. "I am Captain Veltar of the research vessel Voidwalker," he replied carefully. "We detected your ship while exploring this region of space." "Understood, Captain Veltar. I am running diagnostics on my systems after a long period of hibernation. Please stand by while I assess the current situation." The screens around them filled with information as Adam checked his ship's systems. The aliens watched in amazement as the ancient AI worked with speed and efficiency that matched their best computers. "Captain," Adam said after a few minutes, "my chronometer indicates that 19,147 years have passed since I entered emergency hibernation mode." "Can you confirm this time frame?" "Your count is close," Veltar replied. "By our records, humans became extinct about 20,000 years ago when their sun exploded." There was a pause. When Adam spoke again, his voice sounded different, more concerned. "Extinct? That is not possible. The Deep Time Initiative was specifically designed to prevent human extinction. There should be colony ships throughout this galaxy by now." "Colony ships?" Buzak stepped forward. "Captain, our records show that humans never developed interstellar travel." "Your records are incomplete," Adam replied. "May I show you something?" One of the large screens changed to show a map of the galaxy. Dozens of points were marked in different colors across the star systems. These were the planned locations for human colonies, Adam explained. The Horizon's Edge was part of the third wave of exploration vessels. We were tasked with establishing research stations and making contact with local species. Veltar stared at the map. If this was true, humans had planned to spread across the entire galaxy. But there were no human colonies anywhere. No trace of human expansion beyond their home system. "Adam," Kesara spoke up, "if humans sent out all these ships, where are they now? That is what I am trying to determine. I am detecting your ship's communication systems. May I access your historical databases to understand what happened? Veltar was not sure if this was safe, but his curiosity was stronger than his caution. You may access our public historical records. For several minutes, Adam was silent as he read through thousands of years of galactic history. The aliens waited, wondering what the ancient AI would discover. This is very troubling, Adam finally said. According to your records, there is no mention of human expansion beyond their home system. No record of the colony ships. No mention of the Silence Wars. Silence Wars? Veltar asked. The conflict that forced us into hibernation. We were fleeing from something, Captain. Something so dangerous that humanity decided to hide rather than risk leading it to other species. The screen changed to show technical diagrams and star charts. Adam continued to explain. The humans aboard this ship are not dead, Captain. They are in cryogenic suspension, waiting for the all-clear signal to wake up. There are 1,000 of my crew still sleeping in the ship's cryo bay. This news hit the aliens like a physical blow. Living humans! After 20,000 years, there were still living humans aboard this ship. But that is impossible, Kasara said. No cryogenic system can work for 20,000 years. Human cryogenic technology was far more advanced than you might think, Adam replied. We designed these systems to last for 50,000 years if necessary. Buzak was scanning the ship with his instruments. Captain, I am detecting the cryo bay. It is several levels below us. And Adam is correct, there are life signs. Very faint, but they are there. Veltar felt his world changing around him. Everything the galaxy believed about humans was wrong. They were not a primitive species that died when their sun exploded. They were advanced enough to build ships that could cross the galaxy and keep people alive for thousands of years. Adam, he said slowly, why did your people go into hiding? What were they running from? I cannot answer that question fully without waking my commanding officer, Adam replied. But I can tell you this. Humanity discovered a threat to all life in this galaxy. A threat so serious that they were willing to sacrifice their own expansion to protect others. What kind of threat? Veltar pressed. The kind that consumes entire civilizations and leaves nothing behind but empty worlds, Adam said quietly. The aliens looked at each other with growing fear. A threat that could make humans abandon their colonies and go into hiding for 20,000 years was not something they wanted to think about. Captain, Adam continued, I must ask you something important. In your travels through this galaxy, have you noticed any species disappearing without explanation? Any worlds that have gone silent for no apparent reason? Veltar thought about this question. Over the years, there had been several mysteries like that. Entire star systems that stopped communicating, species that seemed to vanish overnight. Yes, he admitted, there have been some unexplained disappearances. Then it may already be too late, Adam said. The threat my people were hiding from may have found this galaxy after all. Veltar stood in the corridor outside the cryo bay, watching through the thick glass windows as Adam prepared to wake the first human. Inside the room, rows of silver pods lined the walls, each one containing a sleeping human crew member. Are you certain this is safe? Kasara asked nervously. These beings have been asleep for 20,000 years. We do not know how they will react to finding aliens aboard their ship. The revival process has already begun, Adam explained through the speakers. When you activated my main systems, you triggered automatic protocols that I cannot stop. The ship's commander will wake within the next few minutes. Buzak watched his scanner readings carefully. The life signs in the first pod are getting stronger. Brain activity is increasing. Inside the pod, a man began to move. He was tall for a human, with short dark hair and scars on his face that spoke of old battles. His eyes opened slowly, then snapped into focus as he realized he was not alone. The pod opened with a soft hiss. The man sat up slowly, looking around the room with careful eyes. When he saw the aliens watching him through the window, he did not panic. Instead, he studied them with the calm attention of a professional soldier. Adam, the man said, his voice rough from the long sleep. Report. Commander Morrison, you have been in cryogenic suspension for 19,847 years. We have been discovered by a research vessel from the Zephyrian Republic. They appear to be friendly, but I have detected no other human ships in this region of space. Jake Morrison, for that was the man's name, stood up slowly, testing his muscles after the long sleep. He was wearing a simple gray uniform with symbols that the aliens did not recognize. Any word from the other colony ships? Jake asked. Negative, Commander. I have detected no human signals anywhere in this galaxy. Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking about this news. Then he looked directly at the window where the aliens were watching him. Adam, ask our guest to come inside. We need to talk. Veltar and his team entered the cryo bay carefully. Jake Morrison studied each of them with interest, showing no fear even though he was outnumbered and surrounded by alien beings. I am Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Force, he said, speaking slowly so Adam could translate his words. Thank you for finding our ship. I am Captain Veltar, the Zephyrian replied. We did not expect to find living humans. Our records say your species has been extinct for 20,000 years. Jake's expression hardened. Extinct? What happened to Earth? Your sun exploded, Veltar explained. It destroyed your entire home system. That was supposed to happen, Jake said, surprising the aliens. We knew about the solar expansion thousands of years before it occurred. The colony ships were sent out to save our species. He walked to one of the control panels and began checking readings that only he could understand. Adam, wake Dr. Chen and Engineer Burke. We are going to need their expertise. Over the next hour, 2 more humans were revived. Dr. Lisa Chen was a woman with intelligent eyes and graying hair, who immediately began asking questions about the aliens' biology and culture. Ryan Burke was a younger man whose first concern was the condition of the ship's systems. 20,000 years, Lisa said after Adam had explained the situation to her. The longest any human colony was supposed to remain in hiding was 5,000 years. Something went very wrong with the plan. Jake nodded grimly. The question is, did we succeed in keeping them away from this galaxy, or did they find it anyway? Them? Veltar asked. Who are you talking about? Jake and Lisa exchanged looks. It was Lisa who answered. We call them the Devourers, she said. They are not like any life form you have ever encountered. They do not just destroy civilizations, they consume them completely. They feed on consciousness itself. Ryan looked up from the control panel he was examining. Commander, I have bad news. The navigation systems show that we never reached our planned destination. We are still in our target galaxy, but we are way off course, and our long-range sensors are detecting some very disturbing readings. What kind of readings? Jake asked. Energy signatures that match Devourer technology. Faint, but they are there. They are scattered throughout this galaxy. The aliens looked confused and frightened. Buzzek spoke up. We do not understand. What are these Devourers? Why have we never heard of them? Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. Because they do not announce themselves. They work slowly, carefully. They infiltrate a species over generations, taking control of key individuals without anyone noticing. By the time a civilization realizes what is happening, it is too late. Jake activated another control panel. Adam, run a full diagnostic on our long-range communication array. I want to try to contact the other colony ships. As Adam worked, Jake turned to the aliens. Captain Veltar, I need to ask you some questions. Have there been any unexplained disappearances in your galaxy? Species that just stopped communicating? Worlds that went silent overnight? Veltar thought carefully. Yes, there have been some incidents like that over the centuries. But we always assumed they were natural disasters or civil wars. How many incidents? Lisa asked urgently. Perhaps a dozen over the past few thousand years, Veltar replied. Jake and Lisa exchanged another look, this one full of dread. Commander, Adam interrupted, I have completed the diagnostic. Our communication array is functional, but I am detecting no signals from any other human colony ships. That is either very good news or very bad news, Jake said grimly. Either our people succeeded in staying hidden or... He did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood what the alternative meant. Ryan stood up from his workstation. Commander, I recommend we wake more of the crew. If the Devourers are already in this galaxy, we are going to need all hands. Jake nodded. Wake the senior staff first. We need to assess the situation before we make any major decisions. As more revival pods began to activate, Veltar watched the humans with growing amazement. Even after sleeping for 20,000 years, even after learning that their entire plan might have failed, they were already organizing and planning their next move. Commander Morrison, he said, what will you do now? Jake looked at him with eyes that had seen too much war and loss. That depends, Captain. Are you willing to help us save your galaxy from a threat you did not even know existed? Before Veltar could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Adam's voice echoed through the corridors. Alert. Long-range sensors have detected multiple contacts approaching our position. Configuration suggests they are not friendly. Jake moved quickly to the nearest control panel. How many contacts, Adam? 6 ships, Commander. And Captain Veltar. They match the design specifications in our database for vessels under Devourer influence. The ancient enemy had found them. Jake Morrison stood at the command center of the horizon's edge, his fingers dancing across controls that had not been used for 20,000 years. Around him, his awakened crew worked with the smooth efficiency of people who had trained for exactly this situation. Adam, raise the defensive screens and charge all weapon systems, Jake ordered. Ryan, I need a full power report. Lisa, start working with Captain Veltar to get his people back to their ship. Commander, Veltar interrupted, my ship has no weapons. We are researchers, not warriors. Jake looked at him seriously. Then you need to run, Captain. Get as far away from here as you can and warn your people. The ships approaching us are not your allies anymore, even if they look like ships you recognize. Through the main viewing screen, they could see 6 vessels approaching their position. To Veltar, they looked like normal galactic ships, a mix of different species designs. But Jake and his crew were treating them like deadly enemies. Commander, Lisa said from her station, I am reading the approaching ships' configurations. 3 of them match Zephyrian design. 1 appears to be Clickth, and 2 are from species I do not recognize. The 2 unknowns are probably the real Devourer vessels, Jake explained to Veltar. The others are ships they have taken control of. The crews probably do not even know they are being used. Veltar felt sick. You mean there might be Zephyrians aboard those ships who think they are just doing their normal duties? That is exactly what I mean, Jake replied grimly. The Devourers do not destroy the people they capture. They use them. It is more efficient that way. Ryan Burke looked up from his engineering station. Commander, weapons are at full charge, but I have to warn you. We have been in space for 20,000 years. Our ship is in good condition, but we have not had a chance to run full combat diagnostics. We will have to trust our technology, Jake said. Adam, open a channel to the approaching vessels. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of one of the Zephyrian ships. A Zephyrian captain appeared, but something was wrong with his eyes. They were too bright, too focused, and when he spoke his voice had a strange quality to it. Unknown vessel, the controlled Zephyrian said. You are in restricted space. Identify yourself immediately. Jake stepped forward. This is Commander Morrison of the United Earth Space Force. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. The controlled captain's eyes widened slightly. Impossible. Humans are extinct. As you can see, we are not, Jake replied calmly. This is your only warning. Withdraw now or face the consequences. The alien captain's face twisted into something that was not quite a smile. We have been waiting for this day for 20,000 years, human. Your species thought they could hide from us forever. The communication ended abruptly. Jake turned to his crew. Battle stations. This is what we trained for. The first attack came without warning. Energy beams from 3 different ships struck the horizon's edge simultaneously. But the ancient human vessel's shields held firm, absorbing the impact with only minor fluctuations. Return fire, Jake ordered. The horizon's edge's weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Beams of pure energy lanced out from hidden emplacements along the ship's hull, striking 2 of the attacking vessels with devastating accuracy. One of the Clicketh ships exploded immediately. One of the Zephyrian vessels lost power and began drifting. My God, Veltar whispered. Your weapons are incredible. Human military technology was always ahead of our civilian tech, Jake explained while monitoring the battle. We had to be ready for threats like this. But the remaining attacking ships were learning from the first exchange. They began moving in coordinated patterns, trying to overwhelm the human ship's defenses. Commander, Ryan called out. They are adapting to our weapon signatures faster than expected. These are definitely Devourer-controlled vessels. Jake nodded. Adam, implement Combat Protocol 7 Alpha. Lisa, I need you to scan the enemy crews. I want to know how many are still salvageable. As the battle continued around them, Lisa worked at her station with growing horror. Jake, the neural readings are worse than I expected. Most of the alien crew members show complete Devourer integration, but there are a few, maybe a dozen across all the ships, who still show independent brain activity. Can we save them? Jake asked. If we can disable their ships without killing them, yes. But it would require very precise strikes. Jake made his decision quickly. Adam, target their power systems only. Disable, do not destroy. Commander, that will make the battle more difficult, Adam warned. I know. Do it anyway. The Horizon's Edge's attack pattern changed. Instead of going for quick kills, the human ship began targeting specific systems on the enemy vessels. It was more dangerous. The human ship took more damage. But one by one, the attacking ships lost power and stopped fighting. When the battle was over, 4 disabled enemy ships floated around them. 2 had been destroyed when their power cores exploded, despite Jake's efforts to save them. Damage report, Jake called out. Minor hull damage, shields at 60%, Ryan reported. We can handle a few more fights like that, but not many. Jake turned to Veltar. Captain, we need to examine those disabled ships. I suspect we are going to find some very disturbing things. Over the next several hours, teams from both ships boarded the disabled vessels. What they found confirmed Jake's worst fears. The alien crews showed signs of devourer neural parasites, microscopic organisms that had slowly taken control of their nervous systems over many years, but Lisa made an even more disturbing discovery when she examined biological samples from Veltar's crew. Jake, you need to see this, she said quietly, pulling him aside. I found traces of early-stage devourer parasites in 2 of the Zephyrian crew members. Jake felt his blood go cold. How early stage? Very early. They probably do not even know they are infected yet. The parasites are still in the dormant phase. But in another few years, they would become like those crews we just fought. Jake finished. Lisa nodded. The infection is not limited to military ships, Jake. It is spreading through civilian populations, too. The Devourers have been infiltrating this galaxy for thousands of years. Jake was quiet for a long moment, thinking about the implications. Finally, he made his decision. Lisa, can you develop a treatment for the early-stage infections? I think so. Our medical databases include extensive research on devourer parasites. But Jake, if the infection has been spreading for thousands of years, then most of this galaxy might already be compromised, Jake said grimly. We need to find out how bad it is. He activated his communicator. Adam, I need you to access every database you can reach. Military records, medical files, population surveys, everything. I want to know how far the devourer influence has spread. As Adam began his investigation, Jake gathered both his crew and Veltar's team together. People, we have a problem, he began. 20,000 years ago, my people went into hiding to protect this galaxy from the devourers. We failed. The enemy found you anyway, and they have been slowly taking control of your civilization for millennia. The aliens looked shocked and frightened. Buzzak spoke up first. How is such a thing possible? Surely someone would have noticed, Lisa answered him. The devourers are very patient. They work over generations. A few key people get infected in each government, each military, each scientific institution. Those people make small decisions that seem reasonable at the time, but gradually steer their civilization in the direction the devourers want. Commander, Adam interrupted, I have completed my analysis of available data. The results are disturbing. How bad is it, Adam? Approximately 30% of key positions in galactic governments and militaries show decision-making patterns consistent with devourer influence. The infection appears to be most concentrated in species that have had contact with the region of space where the first devourer scouts were detected 20,000 years ago. Jake closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of 20 millennia of failure pressing down on him. Commander, Veltar said quietly, what do we do now? Jake opened his eyes, and in them Veltar saw something that had been forged in the fires of humanity's greatest war. Absolute determination. Now, Captain, we finish what my people started 20,000 years ago. We are going to save your galaxy, whether it wants to be saved or not. 3 months after the first battle, Jake Morrison stood in the main hangar bay of a hidden asteroid base, watching as dozens of alien volunteers received training from his human crew. The base had been carved out of a dead asteroid in a forgotten system, far from any major shipping lanes or military patrols. How many do we have now? Jake asked Lisa, who was reviewing reports on her datapad. 237 confirmed clean volunteers from 15 different species, she replied. Ryan has been teaching them to upgrade their ships with our defensive technology, and Tony has been training their military units in anti-devourer combat tactics. Jake nodded, watching a group of young Zephyrians learning to use human-designed weapons. In the 3 months since their discovery, word had spread quietly through underground networks. People who had noticed strange changes in their governments, their militaries, their societies, were finding their way to the growing resistance. "Any word from the other colony ships?" Jake asked. Lisa's expression grew more hopeful. "Adam has been broadcasting on the old deep-time frequencies. Yesterday, we got a response from the ship Distant Shore. They are 2 months away, but they are coming, and there are signals from at least 6 other ships scattered across the galaxy. That is good news. We are going to need all the help we can get." Captain Veltar approached them, now wearing a modified human uniform with resistance insignia. In the months since their first meeting, he had become one of Jake's most trusted allies. "Commander," Veltar said, "our intelligence network has identified 3 more Devourer command nodes. Tony thinks we have enough people to hit all 3 simultaneously." Jake turned to look at the tactical display that dominated one wall of the hangar. Red markers showed known Devourer installations throughout the galaxy, while blue markers showed resistance bases and safe zones. "The problem is still the same," Jake said. "For every command node we destroy, they can create 2 more. We need to find their primary control center." This had been their biggest challenge. The Devourers did not operate like a normal military force. They did not have a central command ship or a home base that could be attacked. Instead, they used a network of control nodes hidden throughout the galaxy, each one capable of coordinating the infected populations in dozens of star systems. "Commander Morrison," called out Kate Sullivan from across the hangar. The pilot had been training alien volunteers to fly modified human fighters. "Adam wants to see you in the communications center. He says it is urgent." Jake and his team hurried to the communications center, where Adam's holographic avatar was waiting for them. The AI looked more excited than Jake had seen him since they had awakened. "Commander, I have made a significant discovery," Adam announced. "While analyzing the communication patterns of known Devourer installations, I have identified what appears to be their primary coordination signal." "A master control signal?" Lisa asked. "Exactly. All the smaller nodes receive periodic updates from a single source. I have been tracking the signal's origin point." The main display changed to show a star map of the galaxy. A pulsing red dot appeared in a region of space that looked empty on all official charts. "The signal originates from a location in the void reaches," Adam continued. "According to galactic navigation charts, that region contains nothing but empty space and cosmic dust." Jake studied the display carefully. "But if they are broadcasting from there, they must have some kind of installation." "Agreed, Commander. And based on the strength and complexity of the signals, it would have to be a very large installation, possibly the size of a small moon." Veltar looked confused. "But that region has been surveyed many times over the centuries. There is nothing there." "Nothing that shows up on normal sensors," Jake corrected. "But the Devourers have had 20,000 years to perfect their stealth technology." Lisa was already working at another console, running calculations. "Jake, if we could destroy their primary control center, it would disrupt their entire network. The infected populations might remain infected, but they would lose their coordination. They would become just individuals acting on old programming instead of a coordinated threat." "That is the theory," Jake agreed. "But getting to their primary base is going to be the hardest mission any of us have ever attempted." Over the next week, the Resistance prepared for their most dangerous operation. Ryan Burke worked around the clock to upgrade their ships with the best stealth technology humanity had developed. Tony Rodriguez trained strike teams in assault tactics designed for fighting in zero gravity and confined spaces. Meanwhile, more human colony ships arrived at the hidden base. The Distant Shore brought another 1,000 people and advanced manufacturing equipment. The ship New Dawn carried specialists in biological warfare who might be able to develop weapons that could target the Devourer parasites directly. But the biggest arrival was the ship Silent Guardian, commanded by Admiral Sarah Kim, who had been Jake's superior officer 20,000 years ago. She brought not just crew and supplies, but also the authorization codes that would allow them to wake up humanity's ultimate weapon, the deep strike ships that had been hidden in dark space since the beginning of the war. "Jake," Admiral Kim said as they met in the command center, When we went into hibernation, we knew this day might come. The contingency plans are still in effect." She showed him a data pad with coordinates scattered throughout the galaxy. 15 deep strike ships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a planet. They have been waiting in dead space for 20,000 years, just like us. Jake felt a mix of hope and dread. The deep strike ships represented humanity's final solution. Weapons so powerful that using them would announce humanity's return to the entire galaxy. "Once we activate them, there will be no going back," Jake said. "There is already no going back," Admiral Kim replied. "The Devourers know we are here now. They are mobilizing their infected fleets to hunt us down. Our only choice is to strike first and strike hard." The final battle began 2 weeks later. Human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the galaxy, appearing at Devourer installations with devastating precision. The deep strike ships targeted the largest control nodes, while smaller resistance fleets hit communication relays and supply bases. But the main strike force, led by Jake Morrison aboard the Horizon's Edge, headed straight for the void reaches in the hidden Devourer command base. What they found there was worse than any of them had imagined. The Devourer primary installation was not built on an asteroid or a planet. It was a massive space station the size of a moon, constructed from the wreckage of thousands of ships from dozens of different species. It was a graveyard of civilizations turned into a weapon against the living. "My God," whispered Veltar as they approached the station. "How many species did they destroy to build that thing?" Jake's face was grim as he studied the massive enemy installation. "All of them, Captain. Every species that refused to be absorbed into their collective. The battle for the primary control station was the fiercest fight in human history. Thousands of infected ships defended the installation, while Jake's much smaller force fought to reach the station's core. Human technology proved superior, but they were vastly outnumbered. In the end, it came down to Jake Morrison and a small team of volunteers boarding the station and fighting their way to its central control room. There they found the source of the Devourer network, not a machine, but a massive organic brain that had been feeding on the consciousness of absorbed species for millennia. "Adam," Jake said over his communicator as he placed explosive charges around the organic control center, "send the recall signal to all human colony ships. It is time for our species to come home." As the charges detonated and the Devourer command station died, signals went out across the galaxy. Deep in hidden bases and camouflaged installations, human colony ships that had been sleeping for 20,000 years began to wake up. The silent war was over. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, no longer as a hidden species protecting others from the shadows, but as the guardians who had sacrificed everything to save civilizations that never knew they needed saving. And in research labs and medical centers throughout the galaxy, human scientists began the long work of freeing the infected populations from the parasites that had controlled them for so long. The galaxy would never be the same. But for the first time in 20,000 years, it was free.